Good morning, class 9th students. I hope you all are as fit as a fiddle and waiting for video lesson. Today I am going to teach you scene 2 of act 1. Before I start textual explanation, let me give you a brief description of the scene 2. The scene takes us from commercial world of Venice to the romantic world of Belmont. Portia is introduced to us along with her maid Nerissa. Portia is in melancholic mood like Antonio in scene 1. She is tired of stream of suitors coming to woo her. She is worried as the choice of her husband depends on the lottery of caskets devised according to her father's will. In this scene, Portia gives her assessment of each of six suitors who have come to woo her. Let's begin the text. Scene 2 Belmont. A room in Portia's house. Enter Portia and Nerissa. Portia's dialogue. By my troth, Nerissa, my little body is aweary of this great world. Portia honestly tells Nerissa that her little body is tired of this great world. Now let's see Nerissa dialogue. You would be, sweet madam, if your miseries were in the same abundance as your good fortunes are, and yet for aught I see they are as sick that surfeit with too much as they that starve with nothing. It is no mean happiness, therefore, to be seated in the mean superfluity comes sooner by white hairs, but competency lives longer. Here, Nerissa says to Portia that you would be tired, dear madam, since you have as many miseries as you have good fortunes. Yet, as far as I can think, people who have too much are just as sick as those who are ill and starving by having nothing with them. It is not a bad fortune, then, to be placed between the two extremes of having too much and too little. The man who has too much wealth soon becomes grey hair, but he who has just enough wealth lives longer. Is this clear to you? Next, Portia's dialogue. Good sentences and well pronounced. Nerissa's dialogue. They would be better if well followed. Here we find that Portia appreciates Nerissa's feelings and acknowledges the logic of what she has said. Nerissa thinks her thoughts should be better put into practice. Now, next is Portia's dialogue. If to do were as easy as to know what were good to do, chapels had been churches, and poor men's cottages princes' palaces. It is a good divine that follows his own instructions. I can easier teach 20 what were good to be done than be one of the 20 to follow mine own teaching. The brain may devise laws for the blood, but a hot temper leaves over cold decree. Such a hair is madness the youth, to skip over the meshes of good counsel the cripple. But this reasoning is not in the fashion to choose me a husband. O me, the word choose. I may neither choose whom I would, nor refuse whom I dislike. So is the will of a living daughter curbed by the will of a dead father. Is it not hard, Nerissa, that I cannot choose one nor refuse none? Let me explain what does Portia mean here. Portia tells to Nerissa that you think it's that easy. If doing good deeds were as easy as knowing how to do them, then everyone would be better off. Small chapels would be big churches, and poor men's cottages would be princes' palaces. It takes a good priest to practice what he preaches. For me, it's easier to lecture 20 people on how to be good than to be the one person out of 20 who actually does good things. The brain can tell the heart what to do, but what does it matter? Cold rules don't matter when you have got a hot temper. Young people are like frisky young rabbits, and good advice is like a crippled old man trying to catch them. Here, Shakespeare has used uh, the metaphor poetic literary device. Okay, the youth is compared to a rash hare which easily skips over snares and nets laid by wise old men and invites troubles. Let me continue. But thinking like this won't help me choose a husband. Oh, the word choose is strange. I can't choose who I like or refuse who I dislike. I am a living daughter, still controlled by the wishes of her dead father. Isn't it a pain that I can't choose or refuse anyone, Nerissa? Here we find Portia in a sad and somber mood. Let us see how does Nerissa responds. Nerissa's dialogue. Your father was ever virtuous and holy men at their death have good inspirations. Therefore, the lottery that he had devised in these three chests of gold, silver, and lead, whereof who chooses his meaning chooses you, will no doubt never be chosen by any rightly but one who shall rightly love. But what warmth is there in your affection towards any of these princely suitors that are already come? In these lines, Nerissa defends Portia's father, saying that he was a wise person. Only a desirable suitor for her would correctly interpret the inscriptions on the caskets and choose the right casket. Let me explain each line. Here, Nerissa tells to Portia, your father was always pious, and such good men have inspiration at their death. The lottery which he had devised, namely the choice among the three caskets of gold, silver, and lead, in which the one who makes the correct choice will marry you. I have no doubt that you will be chosen correctly by a person whom you will truly love. Do you have any special love for any one of these princely suitors who have already come? The next is Portia's dialogue. Portia's dialogue. I pray thee, overname them, and as thou namest them, I will describe them, and according to my description, level at my affection. Here, Portia tells to Nerissa that please name them over, and as you do so, I shall comment on them. According to my comments, you may conclude about my love for them. Nerissa's dialogue. First, there is the Neapolitan prince. Now, let us see what does Portia say. Portia's dialogue. Aye, that's cold indeed, for he doth nothing but talk of his horse, and he makes it a great appropriation to his own good parts that he can shew him himself. Now, let me explain the line. Here, Portia says, yes, he is like a wild young horse. He does nothing but talk of his horse. Besides, he considers it as his own merit that he can shoe his own horse. The name of next suitor. Nerissa's dialogue. Then, is there the County Palatine? Let me explain who is the County Palatine. Actually, County Palatine is a German noble man. What does Portia say about County Palatine? Portia's dialogue. He doth nothing but frown, as who should say, and you will not have me choose. He hears merry tales and smiles not. I fear he will prove the weeping philosopher when he grows old, being so full of unmannerly sadness in his youth. I had rather be married to a death's head with a bone in his mouth than to either of these. God defend me from these two. First, let me explain the allusion weeping philosopher and the annotation death's head. The weeping philosopher refers to Heraclitus of Ephesus. He was a Greek philosopher who lamented the stupidity of mankind and wept at everything in the world. Portia refers to him to describe Count Palatine. It means a skull with a bone in its mouth. The emblem of a skull with two bones crossed underneath was usually known as Death's Head. Here, County Palatine is described as a gloomy and self conceited person. He is always frowning as if to say that if Portia will not marry him, she may choose someone else. He is morose and sullen that even jovial stories don't make him laugh. Portia feels that since he has an abrupt manner of speech and is usually gloomy in his young age, he may become a sad philosopher like Heraclitus when he grows old. At the end of the dialogue, Portia says that she should rather marry a grinning skull with a bone in its mouth than marry either of these. God protect her from both of them. This much is enough for today. We will meet the remaining suitors in my next video lesson. I have uploaded text images and also few questions on the school app that you have to answer in your fair copy. Till then, take care. Have a nice time.